What was it like getting on that Malcolm X soundtrack? Because I mean, that movie was a pivotal movie in our
amazing,
lives, sir. So I mean, to be able to touch that soundtrack at that time, how did that even come about?
So I've been a Spike Lee fan since I was since I was really young. From school days on out, and even She's Gotta Have It.
Yeah.
So. I wrote a letter to Spike Lee, just a handwritten letter. This was before email and all of that, and sent it in the mail. He never responded, so I didn't think he had any interest in what we was doing.
Yeah,
but we were at a club in New York called Sweet Jane's, and packed club. Great night.
Yeah.
And Spike Lee was backstage waiting on us when we got on stage. And I was like, what is going on? This is the Spike Lee in the back,
Yeah.
And I'm so excited. And so we started chopping it up, and he wanted us to do a movie about John Coltrane at first that he was going to do called Love Supreme.
Yeah.
He ended up doing Mo Better Blues, which starred Denzel Washington. And then... So we sort of just, and Gangstar, great hip-hop crew, did the soundtrack for Mo Better Blues. But then he called us back when it was time for his X film, and he said, yo, now it's time. Let's do it. And it turned out, I Arrested Development did a record called Hip Hop Saves Lives last year.
Okay.
And Chuck D is on that record with us from Public Enemy. And Chuck was at the video shoot, and he said, yo, I got you the Malcolm X gig.
What?
I'm like, what? He said, yeah. He said they wanted Public Enemy to do it.
Oh, my God.
But we were doing some other stuff, and he said, you need to get speech from an Arrested Development. And so I didn't even know that. So the reason Spike came to the club was because Chuck had told him to check us out.
Oh my goodness.
Me and Chuck are boys. Like, we're friends.
You're doggone right, y'all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he's my guy. He's my hero too in hip hop. So so Chuck actually, got him to consider us.
Okay, Speech. Answer me this though, man. Having that kind of an influence at that time.
Yeah.
What was that like for you being able to say, you know what, I'm reaching millions of people, but I'm reaching millions of people with a positive message in the culture that could not be positive all the doggone time?
Facts, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I felt like this is exactly what we needed, and I still feel like that. I feel like, we're a people that have been oppressed for 500 years now. 500 years.
My God.
You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
That's a lot of time to have been oppressed by the same oppressor. And it's been time, and it's still time for us to rise above that, change the narratives, give us new things to think about, speak about, rhyme about. So that's what we was on. And, for us, it was great because it was like, okay, we're going to talk about revolution. We're going to talk about, Nelson Mandela and freeing him. We ended up meeting Nelson Mandela in South Africa. So freeing him because he was in prison at the time. We're going to talk about ending apartheid. We're going to talk about the oppression right here in the States. So we just talk about that. And to me, it was a good look.
Okay, rapping about freeing Mandela, then going to meet him speech.
Going to meet him.
Tell me that story, please.
Bro, it was one of the highlights of my entire life. So we went to South Africa to shoot a video called United Front. Yeah. And we shot that with Antoine Fuqua, who does he did what's the movie with Denzel when he said I'm a
Training Day.
He did that, and he did a ton of other top-notch
excellent movies.
Excellent movies. Yeah. So he directed that with me, and he was the main director. I was just, what I'm saying? I was trying to come up, but he was the real director. Yeah. So anyway, we did that with him in South Africa. We got a chance. We had donated about 20 grand to Nelson Mandela at the time in the ANC, and Nelson had just got out of prison. He had become president. The nation of South Africa was in, because I don't think people understand how apartheid happened. Was I'm sort of exaggerating, but not really. On a Monday, black people in South Africa was living middle class lives, homes, made cars, just chilling. Yeah. And on a Tuesday, they created a law called apartheid where those blacks had to leave their own property and go to shanty towns, which was made out of corrugated metal and and they were in poverty in one day. They had a house today, and tomorrow they were in poverty because of new laws. That's why this whole Trump thing scares me, but that's another conversation. So, so people that was in apartheid were very scared of how the government worked because the government's back then it was all white.
Yeah.
But the entire population was black. So 93% black, 7% white.
Oh my goodness.
Which it still is today. And the whites are the ones on top.
Yeah.
Still is like that right now.
Yeah.
As far as money and finances. So when Nelson Mandela became president, it was a shaky time for them because they was like, okay, these white leaders gave Nelson Mandela the opportunity to become president. Is this going to last? Is this going to be a thing that's for real, or are they going to take this back from us?
Yeah.
So when we got to the stadium, which is where we met Nelson Mandela, it was about a 20,000 seat stadium. They were celebrating a massacre of celebrating the kids. It was 16 kids that got massacred in
Soweto.
In Soweto, thank you. Yeah, and so they were celebrating their lives. And so Nelson Mandela was scheduled to speak. I spoke right before him, which was amazing. 20,000 people. And then we got a chance to speak with him before he got on the podium. And I got a picture of it, man. It's one of the, and I will say this. I had never seen in my entire life the entire people of a nation feel so much love for their president.
Oh my goodness.
It was slightly like that with Obama when he first got into office here in the States, but it was way bigger than even that with Nelson Mandela. People were it was like superstardom, like the Beatles, because he represented freedom for them, and he had been in prison, 10 decades.
Yeah, forever.
Innocent, and was released, and now he's president. So if you could imagine how that felt to the people, it was amazing, man.
Had you ever been to Africa before then?
Yes, but when I was 2. So I have some relatives. Yeah, exactly. I have some relatives from Africa.
Okay.
So when I was 2, my mom and dad took me to Africa to Kenya.
Yeah.
And but I don't remember much, obviously.
What was the vibe when you touched down in South Africa as a grown man this time? But then you were a man on a mission,
bro. It was.
You weren't just going there for vacation and fucking around. I didn't say it like that.
No.
You was a man on a mission. So talk to me about that,
bro. You hear about Africa, and especially during those times, everyone's poor, everyone's flies on their eyes, and saying their stomach is bloated, and like that's what you're hearing. You know what I'm saying? That's the images we got of Africa. You get there, high rises and luxury buildings, and everyone's black. Like that's another thing. Being raised here in the United States as a black person, we are the minority in this country.
Yeah.
So we're used to being surrounded by white things, white people, white concepts, white laws. And that's not even a diss to white people. It just is what it is.
Exactly.
That is how you are raised here.
Yeah.
You get there and it's flipped. All the commercials, every actor is black. Every product is a black-owned product. Every store that you walk past is black-owned stores. The crossing guard is black to the president is black. Everything is black. So you're now you're the majority, and the whites are the minority. It's a different flip. It's like another planet in a sense. But it felt great. And let me say this too. I know everyone has had their own experience, but my experience, I've been to Africa probably 20 times now. My experience is every time I've ever been there, they welcomed us, not just because we were famous, with open arms. In fact, on that famous tip, when we first got there, I'm sorry, I'm just running off, but there's so much to talk about.
Take your time.
When we first got there, we're rich compared to the people that we were meeting.
Yeah.
They would not let us pull our wallet out for nothing. They made sure we ate. They made sure that we were comfortable. They showed us what our culture originally was like what black culture really was about.
Exactly.
Which is serving and, community, and we're here for each other. Like that was it. And it was amazing, man. I always had great times being there.